One of the feistier speakers at the conference this morning was the Labor Senator Doug Cameron from the left faction of the party, and he joins me now. Senator, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
You delivered a very passionate speech this morning calling for the mining tax to be winded. You called on your colleagues to forget what you called the fetish surrounding the target to get back to a surplus in the next budget. Wayne Swan rejected your calls. He labelled some of your calls today as being nuts. Were you surprised that you got such a slap down from the Treasurer?
No, not for 1 minute. Look, I think the issues that were raised this morning and my contribution are issues that we will have to face. We will have to face the situation of the budget deficit if the US and Europe continue to spiral downwards. So I think it's important that we do have these debates. I've got a different view on them. The Treasurer's entitled to have his view. He's the Treasurer. He got the numbers, but I thought it was important to put these points out on the floor.
Do you really think it is a choice between jobs and a surplus? We heard you saying that jobs should be the priority.
Yeah.
And is there a lot of support, do you think, within the party for the government to abandon that target of a surplus?
Now, I don't think we should abandon the target now. The key for me is if the economic situation in the US and Europe deteriorates, we can make the target. There's a huge pipeline of investment still there for Australia. There's a strong, demand for our goods in China. So, I think we can meet the budget surplus. But if things get worse, then there should not be a budget fetish.
Well, there's a pretty big likelihood, isn't there, that things will get worse in that instance. How do you think politically it would be for Labor if you do have to abandon that surplus? The opposition would seize on that. You'd be accused of, again, breaking promises.
Well, I would expect the opposition to seize on it. They're the most negative opposition we've ever had in this country. They've got absolutely no economic credibility. Their economic team is one of the poorest economic teams I've ever seen in an opposition. And I wouldn't worry.
Labor, it would be politically damaging for Labor.
Yeah, but what we have to do is get the message out there, the same as we did when the global financial crisis hit, that we can deal with these issues and we can deal with them competently.
Another issue you raised was the mining tax. You'd like to see that widen. We saw the WA opposition leader, Eric Ripper, very strong on this issue as well. He's coming obviously from a different perspective to you. He was arguing today that state governments should be able to lift royalties as they like, also acknowledging that lifting the mining tax would be politically dangerous and terrible for the party in WA. The Labor Party in WA is already struggling. Mr Ripper's own personal approval ratings are pretty rotten. By making that call today, were you effectively giving up on the state and Labor's hopes in WA?
No, but I thought Eric's speech was a bit sycophantic. I thought his speech was designed to make a play in Western Australia. We've got a job as a federal government to act in the national interest, not in a narrow political interest in Western Australia. That's what that speech was about. It wasn't one of the best I've heard on the floor of the conference.
And it certainly did receive a few jeers from your fellow delegates.
Yeah.
Let's look at one of the big issues that will be around tomorrow, the debate over gay marriage. How do you think it would be for Labor to change the platform but then allow a conscience vote on?
I always understood that the conscience vote was about matters of life and death, not can marry. How does that become a conscience vote? And we are not saying that any religion is to do something they don't want to do. But people are entitled, if they love each other, to get married. That should not be a matter of conscience. I have to deal with my conscience constantly on refugee issues, on other issues in the Parliament. Why is it different for me and for some?
Julia Gillard obviously has been pushing for a conscience vote. She believes that marriage is something that happens between a man and a woman. What would your message to the right faction be? We've heard a lot about the right faction wanting to support this conscience vote purely, really, to protect the Prime Minister, so she isn't seen to be rolled at the conference.
My view is let's drive the 21st century on this issue. The public are accepting that if people love each other, that there should be an end to discrimination. This is not a huge issue, and it should not be dominating this conference. The big issues are the economic issues, the big issues are the climate change issues, the big issues are how we take forward and build a good society, as distinct from one narrow aspect. But I think there's been some bad political positioning, and this is what you have.
So protecting the Prime Minister shouldn't be a priority on the floor of this conference?
Now, what should be the priority on the floor of the conference?